What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining me. Episode 18 of Vicious Whispers. Today we will have Chapter 11 of the Brightside audiobook. That will come later. First, all about me. Have some updates on my recent break from cannabis. That's been a little interesting. It's been 9 days. Yep. I'm counting them. The first ones weren't so bad. Yesterday was a little bit of a struggle. I wanted to... I had the whole day, well, not the whole day. I had 4 hours or 3 hours to write. It was going to be a new scene in Beyond Brightside. I just finished going through the first, 10 to 12 chapters. And so this was going to be a new scene, and I was fucking stuck. But then I realized, I was like, well, I'm not really stuck. I was like, I just got to force myself to do it. Cannabis may have helped. I often use that as my go-to when I'm writing, that and caffeine. I'm not doing either right now, so I was like, oh shit, what am I going to get done today? I don't want to just sit at my desk and get nothing done. But I sat there and I just made myself start writing. I was like, it doesn't have to be good. I just need to get these words out. I could go through it later, but I need to set this scene. I already kind of knew what was going to happen. Not entirely, but by the time I was done, I was fucking super happy. The entire scene was written. I think it was like maybe 1,800 words altogether. So a solid scene. I was happy for the day, went over it last night, and yeah, it was cool. There is a death by rear naked choke, and it's really bloody too, because there was a knife involved. So that, I think, is pretty exciting. There's an injured cat. What else? That's pretty much it. And I think a really funny line that might get cut, something about Disneyland and the cost of annual passes, may not fit, but I enjoyed writing it, so who knows, maybe it will stay. The not having caffeine, it's been 7 days with no caffeine. That isn't bad either. I really feel like I've got enough energy. I'm back on intermittent fasting. On the weekends, I don't really mess with it. Oh, I haven't been doing intermittent fasting on the weekends, although I might start changing that after this weekend. We're going to be celebrating, I don't know what we're celebrating. We're just going up to the mountains with our friends, going up to Big Bear. And so I'm not going to be a total tight ass and sticking to, well, I won't have caffeine, I won't have cannabis, but I will indulge in food. So don't want to be so strict with stuff that I'm not enjoying stuff. My thing right now is trying to find a good balance, but right now with intermittent fasting, I'm enjoying it. I feel good. I feel like I have enough energy. So that's why I will be sticking with that. In fact, I'm tightening it up a little bit now because I'm not completely getting the results I want, because I'm not as active as I want to be. I need to eat a little bit better. And so I realized one of the things that I've been doing is I've been snacking. And only between the hours that I allow myself. Like today, I'll probably eat, last night I finished eating at 6 o'clock. Today, I'll probably eat like around 1 or 2. So I will cut out any snacking between that 2 o'clock meal and then the 6 o'clock meal. And so that wasn't bad yesterday. That was my first day of doing it. I was pretty happy with the results. And so, I will keep on doing it. Let you guys know how that's going. Last week, yoga had been awesome. This week, I was planning on starting out great. I took a shower Monday morning because I didn't want to be all stinky in yoga class, get ready to take my daughter to school. My back had been tight, and so I went on the counter and tried to pop it. I got some awesome releases, but then everything locked up and I couldn't barely breathe. I could barely breathe. It felt terrible. I was still tempted to try to go to yoga, but it was ridiculous. I couldn't put my hands above my head, couldn't really move. But my daughter insisted. She kept telling me, she's like, you should go to the chiropractor. That's what you would be telling me. And I was like, yeah, and you're right. So that's what I did. I drove to see my chiropractor, Dr. Holland. I've been seeing him for 31 years. He's pretty much adjusted every bone in my body. And I even did therapy first, because normally I'll just go right in, get adjusted, get out, thinking about time and everything. But I knew everything was so locked up. I needed therapy first, so I got therapy first, and then got adjusted. And we talked about what might have caused it. And I mentioned the gravity boots that I've been using. My wife got them for me a week or so ago. I've been using them, enjoying them. Feels great decompressing the spine. It's a great thing. He said it's a great thing to use. But I was going a little bit too hard with them. I was doing a lot of twists on it. I was doing a lot of trying to do sit-ups and shit like that. And he was telling me, he's like, no, he's like, your problem is that you have, he said, most people call it the Brett Favre syndrome. And at first I thought he meant just because of my rugged good looks, but then he explained, no, Brett Favre, when he was getting older, he thought he could still throw like he could when he was younger, and that's why he started getting intercepted, because the ball just couldn't go as far. He didn't have that same strength, the same speed, and that's pretty much what's happening with me. I push myself harder than my body can handle, and that's where I start getting injuries. And he was saying, it's not, you don't need to change it, he said, but just, take your time with stuff, ease into things, and that's something I generally don't do, and that I need to do, because I am in it for the long haul. That's also one of the problems I have with jiu-jitsu, trying to compete with young kids when, I'm a weekend warrior, maybe going in once or twice when I am training. When I was really training, I'd go maybe 3-4 times a week. But still, a 46-year-old man against a 20-year-old kid, that is, that's hard on the body. So, but my back's feeling pretty good right now. I'll probably go in for a massage today. Oh, little dickhead Ghost is back trying to mess with my camera. Hey, Ghost, come here. And so hopefully I will be able to train jiu-jitsu on Thursday, yoga tomorrow, which is Wednesday, and then yoga again on Friday. So that combined with the intermittent fasting, maybe I'll get skinny one day. Well, maybe I'll get under 200 pounds one day. That's the goal. Get under 200 pounds, be healthy. I know right now my problem is I have so many friends that tell me that I'm not, I'm not obese. I don't need to lose weight, but I should. My waistline is still going by all the stats and everything else. I would be healthier if I lost more weight. So that is what I will do. That fat's not helping me. Yeah, that was the other thing I was kind of bummed about with my injured back, because today I did want to go to headquarters. I wanted to go to 10th Planet headquarters in LA. Haven't been down in there in a long ass time. And I wanted to go train and see my friends, but I also wanted to deliver this to Eddie Bravo and a couple other fighters there. The hardcover for Ain't No Messiah just came out. The only person that has one is my wife, and she has yet to even open it. Well, actually, she did open it because she read the note in it and thanked me for it, but she has not read it yet. And I'm kind of grateful for that, because when she does read it, she's probably going to worry a lot about me and my past. Good thing is I can tell her it's all fiction. I just made that shit up. Maybe I talked to friends to get some of these ideas. And so we'll see. I'll let you know when she does read it. The response for Messiah has been awesome. And going into that, today I wanted to talk about reviews, just how important they are. I'm an independent author. I don't have an agent. I don't have a big-time publisher. None of that. I do all this shit on my own. And so the only way that my book will get noticed with other thousands that are released every day is reviews. Having reviews on Amazon is great, but with a book like Ain't No Messiah, it's not out yet, so they don't allow reviews. And so I'm focusing my attention on Goodreads. Goodreads is an awesome site. That's where people go that love books, share books, and that is probably the #1 way in which someone can help me. So if you have read my books, the best thing you could do for me would be to review it on Goodreads. And you don't even have to leave a review. You can just simply give it a rating. 5 stars, motherfuckers. No, or 4. I'm good with 4. I often leave 4s if I like the book a lot. 5 is like an outstanding book like It or The Stand or something that really will stick with you forever. But if you really enjoy a book, I think a 4 is a solid rating. 3 is so-so. 2 makes me kind of dislike you. And 1, I want to hunt you. Yeah, that's the honest truth. No, I don't want to hunt you. You're not worth my time. That's what I tell myself so I could let it go. But anyhow, I think one of the hesitations with doing something like this, like with the Goodreads reviews, is simply not knowing how to do it. Sounds like a pain in the ass. That's why I don't do it. There are several books that I've read that I never review. I don't really think about it. Oftentimes there are books that, like Stephen King books, that have tons of reviews, and so who gives a shit about my review, right? But I was like, you know what? Today I will walk you guys through the process, because one of my good buddies, he asked me several times already. He's like, hey man, where can I leave a review? What do I got to do? How do I do it? And so I'm just going to take you guys step by step on how to do it, show you how easy it is, and do a couple of my own because I should do it. Practice what you preach, right? All right, let's do it. The book I will, all right, let's see. I'm going to have to move this shit around so you guys can see my awesome computer. It's all old and fucked up. Hold on, but it works. This is where all the magic is made. Bam. All right, you guys probably aren't going to be able to read this, but this is, you can listen along. Anyhow, all right, so go to Goodreads.com. Oh, you know what? Real quick before we even do that, I'll tell you why this is important. All right, so right now, Messiah, if I want to do any serious advertising on Goodreads, I need to have 12 reviews. Right now, I have 5, which is awesome. That's a great amount to have before it even starts. But, like I said, I need 12. So if you have read Messiah and want to help me out, if you could do that first, that would be huge. And I want to give a special thank you to Dave. Awesome review. One of the lines that I love of his is, he says, Joshua is a most unusual lead character in a most unusual story that harnesses religion, mixed martial arts, pornography, and coming of age. That's a cool line. I've been using that in my reviews, in my marketing, I should say. Terry, that's one of my friends. She's a writer herself. She read the book and just reviewed it. A dark and disturbing psychological tale. Very cool, not very many spoilers. Chris she's an awesome reader of mine. She's reviewed every book I've had, and no, she always leaves a cool review. I appreciate that, Chris. Who else do we have? We have 2 other ones. Literary Titan. That one was really cool. It goes into a lot of details. And again, when you leave a review, you don't have to do this, but this was cool. What is it? 4 big ass paragraphs. But it said, overall, this is an interesting and well-written book that delivers a thought-provoking message by putting a fascinating character in evocative situations that beg one to reflect on the choices we all make in life, which is cool. That's what he got from it. That is awesome. And the last one, and Alicia. She rated it, I think I read that one last week, Alicia Roberts. She wrote a great review. It's not on here, or I don't see it on here, but she did leave the 5-star rating. But if you want to see that on her website, that was really cool. All right, so anyhow, let's start. All right, first step, go to Goodreads. I'm going to leave a review for one of the books I read earlier this year, which was Under the Dome by Stephen King. So I searched for books. Under the Dome. Let's see how many ratings it has. Average rating is 3.9. Wow, 227,000 plus. No, ratings. 13,000 plus reviews. All right, let's add one more. So first, go here where it says want to read. I'm going to click that. I already read it, so I'm going to switch that to read. My cat's going to fucking keep bugging my screen, but that's cool. I'm going to give it 5 stars. Stephen King was my favorite author growing up. I read so much of his stuff. I'd say maybe about 10 years ago, I kind of eased off. I think a lot of that had to do with my writing. I didn't want him to be too much of an influence on my writing. I think I was a little bit worried about that. But earlier this year, even though I felt like I didn't have enough time to read, I started this book. I told myself I'd read a little bit every day. And honestly, I wanted to keep going back. It's a super thick book. I don't have it here because I lent it to a friend. That's what you do with a good book. And I never got it back. That motherfucker. But it's good. If he gets something that I did, that would be awesome. All right, enter my review. I think one of the big problems I've had before with writing a review is wanting to sound smart. I've heard before, never write something that you don't want someone else to read. Luckily, I've gotten over that with Facebook and other shit where I'll just kind of blurt stuff out. And here I realize, the amount that I write really isn't that important. It doesn't have to be perfect. I don't care if there's misspellings when I read someone's review. I'm just glad that they gave their opinion so their friends can see it and see whether or not that book was for them. So I will be honest, but I was surprised, and you can see just how fucking slow I type too. Well, I'm also at an angle, so it's not as easy. At how much I enjoyed this book. I didn't think I was going to. I'm not writing that. I had a very limited amount of time to read, but found myself going back to it every day. There was plenty of death and destruction, along with a very moving message about overcoming events from your past. And what was really cool about this was, I'm not typing this part, but my friend Anthony had been dealing with something about some issues that he had when he was in the war. And the main character in this, or one of the main characters in this, also was dealing with the same thing. And so I told him about it, was able to pass on the message that I got from this, and I think it helped him. All right, so date read, fuck, I don't know. Date started, I don't know. Date finished, I don't know. Let's just say it was, I know it was in 2018, sometime last year. Let's say it was about August, because really, no one cares. Oh, you know what? Let's make it my birthday. And just so you guys know, August 19th. Yep. So if you want to give me a present, early present, write a review. All right, so that was it. Super simple. I'm going to save it. And there. So that was it. Now, another one, something else you can do is add what books you are reading. Oh, you know what? I wanted to add another quick one because this is another important book. Norman, I don't even know how you pronounce his last name, Doidge, MD, The Brain That Changes Itself. It was an excellent book. So again, how quick this is. All right, the brain that changes itself. And what's nice too is as soon as I am done, I will copy these and then also put them on Amazon. So if you could do that, copy and paste, just also add the review to Amazon and anywhere else you might have bought the book, that would be super helpful. Okay, look at 4.2 rating. Yeah, it's an excellent book if you know anyone that has brain damage, or if you're worried about your own brain. But it was a great book. So I also read this earlier. This was the start of what I was reading for my stuff on traumatic brain injuries. And my friend Russell Longo recommended it, and it definitely made me more optimistic about what can be done for brain damage, which I probably have. Again, 5-star rating because I read the whole thing. I'm not a big fan of nonfiction, but it was, in fact, I put that. Although I'm not usually a big fan of non-fiction, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. And I'm not even going to use commas. Let's see. There I go, trying to think of something smart. It made me much more optimistic about treating brain damage, and is the book that helped me decide to write my own book on recovering from traumatic brain injuries. Ooh, I like that little plug for myself, right? But it's also, it's true. So again, this book was awesome, and it also helped me consider. It's probably one of the reasons why I'm actually going to therapy, talk therapy, because in there I learned that yes, talk therapy, which I used to think was bullshit, can actually help rewire the brain. So let's see. I don't know when I started it, but I will put that I read this shit in 2018, which I did. And let's say it was probably, I don't know. Let's say July 14th, because why not? Then we will save it. So that was done. So damn, 2 reviews super quick. All right, now, and Now, when you're doing this for me, what I would love for you to do is, okay, this says, after you save your review, it says, would any of your friends enjoy The Brain That Changes Itself? Or would any of your friends enjoy Ain't No Messiah, Twisted Reunion, blah, blah, blah? For sure you want to do that. You could recommend it to friends that would enjoy it. That would be awesome. Here's another one. This one I just started reading last night. It is a book by Corey Taylor. I've gotten a couple of his. Let's see, Corey Taylor. So you can search by the author name as well. Here's 7 Deadly Sins, which I did read. I don't remember that much about it, but I did read it. And so I'm not even going to leave a review. I am simply going to put a 4-star rating. And then I'm just going to leave it at that. And then I will save it. So simple. Again, that's helpful. Lets people know that I did enjoy the book. And but the one that I'm reading right now, let's go to that one, is, I'll click on his name, that way I can see all his books. Don't have to type anything in. These other ones, Funny Thing Happened to Me on the Way to Heaven, I actually have that, I'll put that one to read. Oh no, add to shelf. Add to shelf, because that is on my bookshelf. I just have not read it yet. So I did that. You're Making Me Hate You. I will put add to shelf. And one to read. I don't know why it's not clicking it. Oh, you actually have to hit one to read. And then this is the one that I'm currently reading, which is American 51. So again, I don't want you thinking I am some huge fanboy of Corey Taylor, although I am a big fan. My whole family enjoys his music. I think he's an incredible musician with Slipknot and Stone Sour. Stuff he's done on his own. And how fucking badass would that be to do a book tour with him someday? So I will finish reading America 51 and then I will get to it. I'll also copy and paste these. Now, what I would love for you guys to do is to type in my name, Mark motherfucking Tullius. Actually, don't do that. I think that's biting from Corey Taylor. Let's just look me up. Where are all my books? And if you hear that purring, that's my cat again. I'm not even going to try getting rid of them. You guys just going to do it. Maybe it's going to make you nice and relaxed. All right. So here's Goodreads. If you read, here's Brightside. If you read that, which you should, or if you're listening to it, just simply put currently reading, which could also mean listening. If you could do a review on that, that'd be dope. That only has a 3.48 rating, 35 reviews. On Amazon, it has 100 reviews, higher rating. And again, lots of my books are hit or miss. So they're either going to get a 4 or 5 star rating or 1 or 2 because people either fucking hate me or they like it a lot. And I'm good with that. Here are the other ones. 25 Perfect Days. If you could leave a review of 25 Perfect Days plus 5 more, that would be even better. Twisted Reunion is my highest rated book with 3.91, 82 ratings. Not sure how many reviews. I think it's like 20. I recently ran a giveaway on Goodreads, which is another reason to be on Goodreads because authors often run giveaways. And so I got a lot of awesome reviews from that. People really enjoying it. So if you like horror, Twisted Reunion is probably the way to go. If you like science fiction, I recommend 25 Perfect Days plus 5 more. That's dystopian. Somber Stroll is horror. Only had 17 ratings on that. 3.88. Try Not to Die at Grandma's House. Only 19 ratings. And then the big one is that I really need reviews for right now. It's also got the highest rating is a 4.0. Only 7 ratings though. So this would be the most helpful if you can go and say, and even if you haven't read it yet, if you haven't picked it up, if you could add it to your shelf and click want to read, that would be super helpful because your friends will see it. Yeah, so if you guys could do that for me, that would be fucking awesome. I would appreciate it and maybe love you forever. Although, I don't know. I don't know about the love you forever part. It's kind of bullshit. I'll love you until you... yeah, I'll love you for a while. How's that? All right. But that's enough of Goodreads for today. Hopefully And that gave you the confidence that you can do your own. You can do it quickly. It's super easy to set up an account. You don't even need to put a picture. You just need to fucking do it. So if you do that, thank you very much. And if you do that, send me a message, Mark and Mark Tullius. Find me on social media. Let me know you left a review. And also what book you like. I'll be happy to send you a free ebook. If you're in the US and you're really cool, and maybe you left me 2 reviews, I'll probably send you a signed paperback or a hard copy. Who knows? Maybe of Ain't No Messiah. Depends on how cool this review was. Alright guys, I think that's pretty much it for now. Why don't we get into the story? I babbled enough. Alright, so let's do it. Chapter 11 of Brightside, narrated by T. Quillen. Here it is.
Chapter 11. Day 100, and I'm all alone in my office. I keep staring at Sarah's desk, wondering when she's going to get back. I need to talk sense into her. That's what I was trying to do when Carlos came in. Said the council needed to see her. She asked for what, but he didn't know. Now her desk is empty except for the single red rose, which isn't for Sarah. It's for Rachel. Alex, the little kiss-ass, put it there when I went to the bathroom, just to let me know he wanted her. I'm lucky I wasn't there because I would have cracked. Let him know the truth about Rachel. Alex with his short brown hair perfectly combed like an innocent schoolboy. Don't worry about all those muscles. The smirk that said anything he wanted was his. Like Rachel. Poor Alex has no idea it's never gonna happen. I put my headphones on, trying to block out the thoughts. But I keep falling back to when Rachel re-entered my life. The biggest mistake she'd ever make. By day 70, I'd made up my mind, so I stayed away from Danny like Sarah asked. I bought an audiobook, Learning Spanish 1 and 2, to keep my mind busy, keep me focused on something other than the mine shaft as I passed Brightsiders in the square or the halls of work. I looked like a weirdo, repeating, "Cuánto cuesta la carne? Mi encantaría un vaso de agua." And, "Puede que me señale el bar más cercano?" Weirdo was better than everybody knowing the truth. I stayed away from the woods. Had no idea if the cave had been discovered, boarded up, filled with cement, like the one on the eastern edge. But I couldn't risk going up there to look. Not right away. I had to appear like everything was normal. At work, I'd pull up maps of California to chart a course to Mexico, memorize names of cities, the closest airports, the distance to island getaways. I learned all I could about the best places to go, and every time Carlos came around, he was thrilled to see I was taking my job seriously. In Brightside, everyone had to find a purpose. A reason to stay alive. That's what Sharon would always say. And Grace, and Philip, Carlos too. Well, I definitely had my purpose. To get the fuck off this mountain. Every night, I'd train. Started jogging. Did push-ups, sit-ups. Needed to get my body ready for the long trek to Mexico and beyond. I even practiced the hum Dad taught me to clear my head. I realized it was just another version of Sharon's mantra. Dad used to say, "Sometimes you have to make noise to make everything quiet." I hated him for what he'd done, for turning me in. But I finally had a purpose here in Brightside, and no one, especially my father, was going to screw it up. I only allowed my fantasies of beaches and bikinis at night, holed up in my apartment when I knew everyone was asleep. I actually felt sorry for the others. The ones who'd never breathe free air again. I felt awful about Sarah, too. But I'd given her a chance. She just refused. Still, I knew she was right. That Danny wouldn't survive on the outside. He'd end up getting us caught. He was better off here. When I would remember, I'd make him drawings. I'd been putting the good ones into a book and was planning on leaving it by his door on my way out. Finally, after 2 weeks, on day 85, I decided to visit the cave. Snuck out in the middle of the night. Looked like I was just taking a jog, my normal routine, running around the mountain repeating, "Gracias por el Britis." There wasn't a soul in the square. I ran a few laps to make sure. Then I took off for the trees. Even the calm Spanish woman's voice couldn't tamp my anxiety. My heart thumped against my ribs, and I climbed up the hill, passing the tree with Rachel and Michelle's names scratched out, stepping around the huge tree that had fallen and cracked open the cave. And there it was, perfectly untouched, just the way I left it, every stone in place, not a single crack to see into the cave. Part of me wanted to rip them away, just take down the shaft, but I didn't have my supplies. If the cave had been demolished, I didn't want to get caught with rope, bottles of water, and cans of soup. I ran my finger along one of the rocks, knowing it wouldn't be long. Day 86 would be my last. The next morning, I tried to stay vigilant, focused, but the excitement made everything fizz. I felt like a kid going to school on his birthday, waiting, watching the clock, needing it to move faster so I could go home. Only this time, home was everywhere. Anywhere but Brightside. I put on my headphones and opened the door. War Inside My Head was playing. Just the right song for the number of people on the sidewalks. Everyone headed to work. I cranked the iPod as loud as it went and kept walking, not worried about someone stopping me. A question not heard, a question not answered. The music shut everything out. Dad used to hate it. I was 13, and we were in the car when Dad ripped off my headphones and chucked them in the back seat. "You think I want to listen to that crap? It's not crap. You're going to blow out your ears, and mine." I forgot he could hear my quiet rage, the screaming, blasting thoughts. He blew out a long breath of decaf, and he was much calmer when he said, "You really think you need to listen to that stuff?" I hit stop so I didn't waste the batteries. "I like them." Dad grabbed my Walkman, slid out the tape, and held it up so we could read it. "Fear is the mind killer. Funny." It wasn't funny. It was power. It blocked out the rest of the world. 3 men punishing their instruments, their fans, themselves, saying the stuff I wanted to but didn't know how. I didn't bother telling Dad any of that because he wouldn't get it. I held out my hand and said, "Maybe I like noise. Maybe it's better than most of the crap I hear in your head." Dad took the tape, dropped it into his shirt pocket. "Real nice." I sounded like a baby when I told him to give it to me, said it was mine. Dad pulled the tape out and looked at me like he wanted to know the truth. Not what I thought he wanted me to say. "Let me ask you something," he said. "You do know what most people think of other people who listen to music." I couldn't lie. Not when Dad looked at me like that. I said, "People are gonna think what they're gonna think. I'd rather not hear it." Dad shook his head. "Who cares what others think of you? Let them think what they want. That's your answer? For now?" Dad handed me the tape and headed down the street. "You're a better man than me." And I was. I never would have turned someone in. Especially my own son. Day 86. I tried to keep busy at work. Made calls. I even sounded enthusiastic for the first time, because I wasn't selling the customer. I was selling myself. On the Long Island bungalows, the desert resorts. But time wasn't moving fast enough. I kept thinking it was time for lunch, halfway there. But it wasn't even 10. I decided to get something to drink. Headed for the door. Sarah said, "Joe?" "I'm fine." I put on my headphones. "See?" The break room was to my right. A good chance it was empty. This wasn't a place where people hung out by the water cooler, so I opened the door, stepped inside. Carlos finished digging in the fridge and headed toward me, a water bottle in each hand. He was talking, so I had to take off my headphones to ask him what he said. "I've been going over the numbers with Sarah. I think we can crack Canada." "Cool." I pictured myself walking the streets of Montreal. Carlos cocked his eyebrow. Quickly I said, "I can put together a list of territories." "Great." I went over to the cupboard, tempted to grab the dusty can of regular coffee, but I started a fresh batch of decaf. The last thing I needed was having my mind race. There was just no telling how far it would go, what I'd give away. Carlos asked when it would be ready. "End of day." "Great." Thankfully, he left. I felt bad for Sarah, knowing she had to sit in his office every day listening to Carlos wearing out the word, "Great," and yet somehow keeping my secret. I poured my cup, walked out, and nearly spilled it at the sight of Rachel. Her hair was dried out and frizzy. She wore this baggy wool sweater that reminded me of my grandmother's before she was sent to the psych ward. Rachel's eyes were wide and jittery like she'd been electrocuted. Her skin pale, almost gray. Those eyes grew even wider when she saw me. "Joe!" She hurried over and threw her arms around me. More life than when I saw her in the cabin, but still not Rachel. "Thank you for visiting me. The nurse said you were really sweet." "Oh." I noticed everyone in the office starting to gawk at the girl formerly known as Rachel. This shattered creature standing there in that disgusting wool sweater. I brought her to my office, the one that used to be hers. It was a mistake. Rachel started crying, sobbing, then suddenly pulled it together because she knew people were still watching. "Why don't you give us a second, Sarah?" Sarah said sure thing and closed the door behind her. Rachel just stood there, staring at her old desk. She wasn't blinking. I asked her, "When did you get out?" This morning. Yeah." "Well, that's great." We stood there for a few seconds. I couldn't believe how old she looked. Rachel messed with her hair. "I'm getting a new apartment. They're painting it now, so I haven't had a chance to shower." "You look great." Rachel knew I was lying, but she appreciated it. "So," she said, I was thinking maybe we could have dinner tonight?" "Tonight?" I pushed the thought of the cave out of my head. I'm buried in work. I really don't know how long." The tears spread across her eyes again. She had the image of the cave rattling around her damaged brain. It confused her. She shook her head like she was mad at it. "Screw work," I said. "Dinner sounds perfect. Where do you want to go?" "I was thinking Oscars. You know, like old times." "Oscars it is." Rachel smiled, and it looked like it hurt. "Well, let me get back to work. I'll meet you at 8. She sounded a little more like her old self when she said, "Okay." I couldn't have her near anymore. As calmly as I could, I opened the door and smiled. Told her, "I'll see you tonight." Rachel leaned in and put those dry, cracking lips on mine. Sarah came back in after being subjected to Rachel's scowl. I couldn't look at Sarah, not with what was going through her head. She was telling me to look at Rachel, take a really good look, because that's how I was going to end up. I shouldn't have gone out with Rachel that night. I should have blown her off and made my escape. But Rachel deserved better than that. I wasn't the only reason she got sent to the cabin, but I could have stopped it. I could have told her what she needed to hear. I knew the boots were coming, and I just sat there like a coward. If I didn't have the balls to face Rachel and tell her how sorry I was, how could I ever step off the 200-foot drop, stay one step ahead of the dogs and the bullets? Plus, I needed an alibi. I wanted everyone to see me out on a date. My weird late-night jogs were causing people to talk. Some thought I was overcompensating, trying not to lose it. Others thought I already had. Rachel was waiting for me on the bench under the flapping American flag, just like night 38. Only this time, she wasn't in her fancy green dress. She wore a long skirt, a big puffy coat. When she saw me, she wished she'd worn something nicer. I was in the only suit I had in Brightside. "You look nice," Rachel said. "You too." Rachel fidgeted in her coat, looked down at her big, ugly snow boots. "Come on, let's eat," I said. I hadn't meant to take her hand, but there it was. Rachel blushed. She had hope we actually might work out. I hummed in my head to keep out the truth. "What song is that?" she asked. "Oh, just something my dad used to sing." Rachel heard what I wanted to do to him for turning me in, but she didn't say anything, just rubbed my arm as we walked through the square. It felt good. We sat in the back, even though the hostess wanted us up front to make it seem not so empty. "I've never seen it like this," Rachel said. The hostess told us that they'd been bringing in so many new people, everyone's wages had been cut. I worked on commission, so I hadn't thought about it before. But it made sense. There was only so much money to be made on a mountaintop. Rachel looked over the menu, but I knew what she was going to ask before she even said it. She wanted to sound normal, not broken inside. The girl trapped in the cabin swallowing pills to sedate her mind. "Tell me about Sarah." "She's Danny's sister. She came here to be with him. Actually turned herself." "You like her?" "We're just friends." Rachel studied me, her eyes peering over the menu. Nothing's happened. Rachel ducked down behind her menu. "I know." How easy it was to remember all the reasons Rachel and I should never have been together in the first place. She took a drink, steeled herself. "Okay, I just want you to listen." I pulled on my sleeves, wished I'd worn something more comfortable. "All right." "I need to apologize," she said, "for what happened for us." "No, I'm the one who—" "I said listen. Just listen." "Yeah, okay. Sorry." "I thought about you a lot. I mean, when I could think. And I understand that I have way too much stuff going on inside. And I know that you didn't always find me attractive." "Rachel." "And it's okay. I'm not perfect. I didn't want to accept that. It's why I did a lot of the stuff in the past." The list of men spinning in my head like a Rolodex. "And you have a lot of stuff, too, which is okay. We have this thing, whatever it is, and it makes life so much more complicated. Sometimes we feel hurt because we know what other people are thinking. Other times we feel superior because no one can ever lie to us." The cave flashed in my mind before I could catch it. "Joe, what's going on?" "Nothing. Keep going." I thought, loud and clear. "I want to hear about the cabin. She focused and said,
"It was really hard at first, like you were strapped to something, only you really didn't care. But it taught me things, to be accepting, open, to realize that Brightside offers us a place to be with our own kind. In the real world, relationships are always one-sided with us. Here, for the first time, we're on equal footing."
Sharon's words spewing out of her mouth. I focused on the fork, the starting lineup for the Cleveland Indians. It was teenage sex. Thinking of anything to push it back, delay.
"Joe, I need you to hear me."
Jim Thome on first base.
"Joe!"
"I'm here."
"We rushed things, and that's my fault. We really didn't know each other, but I'd like to try. I mean, we have all the time in the world."
Time. In 5 hours, I was supposed to be tying the rope. Rachel's first thought was that I was going to hang myself. "I've been drawing," I blurted, "like a lot, for Danny. And I think I'm getting pretty good. Even faces, which are impossible." Rachel thought about my first drawing, the one of her under the tree, her nose so Jewish. The waitress arrived and I took a breath, happy to have something new to focus on. But when the waitress left, the thoughts started coming in waves. I ate breadsticks, savored every bite, focused on the crunch, the crumbs melting on my tongue. I'd never taken such pleasure in a breadstick, never focused my entire being on a bite. Suddenly, Rachel's foot was rubbing against mine. She'd taken it out of the boot. I felt her stocking sliding up my pant leg. Nylon on flesh. Rachel slowly took a bite of her breadstick, like she was going to make it explode in her mouth. It was weird and a little sexy. Sexy was fine. Meant I didn't have to think about my cave, my escape. I put my hand on her foot, brought it up between my legs. The waitress came back, pretended like she forgot something, and left. Her thoughts calling out,
"Why do the perverts always sit in my section?"
At some point during the dinner, it started to sleet, and by the time we hit the sidewalk, we could barely keep our balance. The wind howling in the night. I wasn't drunk, but I'd had a glass of wine at Rachel's insistence. Figured it'd give me courage for the long night ahead. But with the ground covered in ice, my escape would have to wait. Climbing down a dry rope was treacherous enough.
"Joe, what are you thinking?"
Shit. We should get inside.
"Yeah."
The wind was so loud I couldn't hear Rachel's thoughts. Prayed she hadn't heard mine. The sex was odd. First, we're tearing off each other's clothes. The next, I'm underneath her, and Sarah pops into my head. Rachel touched my cheek. I'm sorry, I said.
"There's nothing to be sorry about. It's natural. Let's just focus on us."
The cabin had broken the old Rachel, left this kind-hearted creature behind. I wondered if some time in the cabin was just what I needed. In between licks on my chest, Rachel said,
"You really don't."
Afterwards, we stretched out, caught our breath. Then Rachel got up to pee. 2 steps later, she cried out,
"What the hell's all over the floor?"
Rachel navigated through the jagged pieces of broken gifts I hadn't fully swept, the pieces to Dad's puzzle. I thought Rachel was out of range, but when she came back, her body haloed by the bathroom light, she said,
"I want to see it."
Rachel, I don't think.
"Yes, you do." You want to show me?
Fucking telepaths. I got up, threw on some underwear because my dick had shriveled like a snail, and there's something not right about holding a shotgun buck naked. I stepped into the closet, reached up to the top shelf where it was hidden behind a bunch of Dad's boxes, all shiny and ready for action.
Can I hold it?
I knew there weren't any cameras in my room. The boots would have come the night I assembled it. Be careful.
It's heavy.
Rachel pretended like she was going to drop it, but caught it and laughed. Don't mess around.
Why? Scared?
Rachel pointed the gun at my chest. I couldn't remember if I'd taken out the shells. That's not funny.
Kinda is.
She aimed it at my dick. So kind-hearted. So fucking crazy. Just give it to me, I said. Rachel backed me up, and I fell onto the bed. She grinned at me like a child who'd found her Christmas presents.
Tell me about the mine,
she said. Rachel, shut up.
Tell me about the cave.
Rachel knew I wasn't going to say shit, not with her pointing the shotgun at me, so she handed it over. I thought about hitting her with it like a baseball bat. In this little girl voice, she said,
Please don't hit me, mister.
The tension broke into laughter. Truth was, I wanted to tell her. Sarah was the only person who knew, and she thought it was the dumbest thing that had ever clanged around my head. So I silently told Rachel everything. How I'd found it, traveled down the shaft in the dark, seen the drop-off, covered it back up with rocks. We both figured the boots and the council never even knew it was there. It had probably been covered up before we arrived. Rachel sat next to me, and I realized I wanted her to come along. Didn't want to do it alone. I needed someone to help me down the 200 feet, and Rachel used to rock climb. Before I could even ask, Rachel said,
Yes.
All right, we are back, and so is Rachel. So kind-hearted, so fucking crazy. Rachel's back. Joe's kind of a sucker, and would like someone to join him on his escape. Last week he was a little bit worried. He was kind of bummed that Sarah wasn't going to do it. Now he has Rachel. So we will see where that leads to. Rachel seems a little damaged, a little crazy, but also a little bit better, a little bit more kind-hearted, right? The only thing I really got from this, besides the whole Rachel deal and a little bit of a sex scene, although not much details in it, I always hesitate on how much to do on that, but I thought it was just enough. That way the kids could read it. Was the mention of some heavy metal stuff. Hopefully you guys caught that. Joe was listening to some Suicidal Tendencies, War Inside My Head. That's one of the songs I used to love when I was a kid. Used to love all the suicidal stuff. Not so much of a fan anymore. Oh, here's little dickhead. Here's a guy that's purring like fucking crazy. So yeah, War Inside My Head by Suicidal Tendencies. And then the other one was, there's a couple of paragraphs when Joe was in the car with his dad about Fear is the Mind Killer. That was an EP from Fear Factory that I really enjoyed. What was it? Scum Grief. It was a song that I first heard. I think it was on the soundtrack to some movie. I forget what it was. It was a Dean Koontz movie, I believe. But once I heard that song, I fucking loved it. And from then, I started listening to Fear Factory a lot. But that's where that came from. One of the cool things when this book first came out, I was able to meet Burton C. Bell. He was a guest bartender at some bar in Hollywood. So I went down there, got his autograph on a copy of Brightside, which also has the autograph from the guys from Machine Head, because they're one of the lyrics to Davidian is what I used as the epigraph for this book. And so that will be in my safe. It's actually not in my safe. It's on my bookshelf, but no one's fucking getting to it. But but it means a lot to me. So that was super cool of him. He was seemed like an awesome guy, and yeah, definitely check out his work. All right, you know what? I think we are gonna keep this shit kind of short today because I'm tired of talking, and you guys are probably tired of hearing me. Don't want to ruin it for next week. All right, next week we are going to have chapter 12 of Brightside, which makes total sense since today we listen to chapter 11. But I hope you guys have an incredible week. All right, talk to you later.